Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. All right, you all. Lisa, the house money mama, is having some major technical difficulties today. So I had to log in under her account and get this thing going because she is really excited to get this information to everyone about credit. So she did not want to delay this session for another week. So I'm Maurice Holmes of the Credit Restore Station, and I'm going to get right into it because we're already late. I'm going to give you all a lot of information today, and I'm also going to close it out with information on how to access free 3-borough credit reports every 30 days for life. That's right, for life. I've been doing it for years. I'm going to share that information with you all today because it's really important to be able to access your credit reports, not just one, but all three, and see what's on there so you can maintain and keep good credit. So I'm going to share my screen here and get this party going. All right, here. Okay. I hope everyone can still hear me. If you cannot, please let me know in the comments. Share. Okay. Let's get it going. All right. So this is the Path to Home Ownership, the home buying course. And this is going to be, I jumped ahead of there. So this is the second part, and it is the credit part. So what we're going to do is talk about a few things and help you all understand your credit, because the more you understand about your credit, the better you are to maintain it, improve it, and then get those things that you're trying to get, like those major goals, like home purchasing. So today we're going to talk about who the Credit Restore Station is, what it is that we do, why credit is important. We're going to help you understand your credit report and score, because some people don't understand the difference in scoring. They'll look at a Credit Karma score and think they're good, then Experian tell them, nah, you ain't good. That's the difference between Vantage and FICO score. So we'll touch down on that. And then I'm going to help you learn how to identify the scars. I can literally look at a credit report in 5 to 10 minutes and identify all the factors that are fighting against the score. So we're going to touch down on that. And then I'm going to give you all some credit score do's and don'ts, major do's and don'ts. This is highly important information in order to maintain a high score and healthy credit. And then I'll close it out with, like I said, free 3-borough credit reports for everyone. All right, so why did I start doing credit repair? I always like to start with this because it's important. It's one thing for a person to sell you something that they haven't experienced. And many of you may have heard the saying, I'm not only the hair club president, but I'm also a client, the old commercial, the hair club for men. Well, that is my story. So it all started back in 2007. I had got married. Couldn't get approved for an apartment. I tried many places. Nobody would approve me. And I had a family friend that managed an apartment complex. And she called me after hours, said, let me see if I can get you in here. She ran my credit and said, with credit like this, you wouldn't get approved for a piece of bubble gum. She said a candy bar is what it was. And I didn't understand credit then. My mom didn't know about credit. Her mom probably didn't know about credit. So it was just that generational thing. I never maintained it. I never took care of my credit. And that's why I had 27 collections, 3 judgments, and nothing positive on my credit report. Yeah, it was bad, y'all. And I'm yet to see someone that has or have had credit as bad as mine was back then. But that's not the end of my story. I also lived in a rough part of town because good credit will determine if you pay 3 times for a car or just 1 time for that car. Good credit credit will determine if you get to choose what part of town you want to live in, or if you just, stuck with what you get. So yeah, I lived in a rough part of town. I would not even let my kids go outside because it was just that rough in the town that I was living in. I wanted better for them, and I also wanted better for myself. So what did I start doing? Researching credit and trying different things. I learned about the dispute process, and back then I primarily used the online dispute process, doing all online disputes. I don't recommend that today, but back then it worked wonders for me because out of those 27 collections, I was able to get 20 deleted through that online disputing process. And then the last 7, I just worked out settlements and made payments and was able to get those rectified. And the good news is in 2010, I was able to get my family out of that rough neighborhood. I reached my goal and I bought my first house. It was a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. And yeah, it felt good. So it felt so good coming from 27 collections and 3 judgments and nothing open, and then reaching a goal that I wanted, but I didn't think was really a reality for me. You know how it is. We can believe God for stuff for other people, but when it comes to ourselves, our faith kind of lacks a little. So that's kind of where I was. But to reach that goal was amazing. I wanted other people to experience this. So I went to my church, started showing people, they saw me get the house. I showed them where my credit was, and I volunteered the services for free at that time to help. And once again, I was able to bring some of those clients to lenders like Lisa. She closed on several clients for me. And yeah, it's been just a beautiful thing ever since. And yep, it's one thing to talk about a dream, but another thing to actually get it and to help people get it. So let's move on. So what is it that we do? We assist people and families with a fresh start at credit. And with our program, during the process of repair, we like to educate people on things like the importance of credit, understanding the proper use of your credit cards, how different things affect your credit score, and how to make your credit work for you. Me personally, I love to help a person get their credit together and get their scores up. I don't want to see you. It would be good for business to get you as a repeat customer because you keep messing your credit up. But I don't want to see you like that. I want better for you. So I want to educate you to teach you how to maintain this, because that's what it is. We perish due to lack of knowledge. Is what we don't know. And what you don't know can cost you. So I like to educate people. We assist people with reaching whatever goals they desire, from whether it's home ownership, a new car, just establishing your credit, or building that personal credit to assist with business credit. We can help you with that. So let's get on into this. Now we're going to talk a little bit about understanding your report and score. And I'm sorry if I'm moving a little fast here. You can always reach out to me afterwards and have me share anything with you that you may have missed. So understanding your report and score. And what I've learned, just like me, a lot of people don't understand their credit. They don't understand the credit report, and they don't understand how the credit scoring works. And anytime something doesn't come easy or you don't understand it, we just shy away from it. We ignore it. We don't deal with it. But the reality is we need to understand how to read these reports, and we need to understand how the score changes. That way, when you make certain decisions regarding your credit, you know the outcomes, you know what it's going to impact, and that'll assist you in making better decisions. You need to know how the scores are adjusted and the different types of score, which we're going to touch down on also. And you need to know what is actual good credit. Like, I've had a client, we cleaned up their credit report, removed everything negative, added a trade line to their credit, and their scores went to the 720s. All 3 scores were in that 720, 730 range. They just thought they can get approved for anything, and all they had was one trade line, which is an authorized user account on their credit. Nothing else, no primary accounts. And they were frustrated because they weren't getting approved. And that's because you don't have a good mix of credit. So just because you have a high score doesn't mean you have good credit. But we're going to help you establish that, though. And then lastly, helping you understand how to maintain that credit once you got the scores up. All right, you got it? Let's go. So the first thing, when you pull a credit report, and as you can see, I pulled this report from a client February 1st, which was yesterday. This is Experian report. This is where I look at most credit reports. Score 626. But what we're going to focus on today is you all pulling your credit to see what's on it. You can't fix a problem that you're not aware of. So when you first pull that credit report, you want to look at 3 things: the name, the address, and the employer. Just this personal information, and you want to make sure it's accurate. Any wrong name abbreviations, any wrong addresses. I've had a client that had 15 different old addresses. You want to remove all of those old addresses and just keep the main address, the 1 or 2 addresses that you primarily use, as well as employers. Get all of that stuff off of there. So it's very important to remove these incorrect versions of your name, address that you no longer use, and the old employers for this reason. That information can very well tie you to old accounts that you dispute. You're trying to dispute a collection, which rightfully so, you can dispute, but whatever went wrong with that collection while it's on there, and you don't feel like it's yours or like you should be liable for paying this account or whatever. And it can be easily removed with the dispute process. Collections are easy to remove because technically you did not have a contract with that collection agency. So it's technically not your account because you didn't do business with them per se. But if you have old addresses that you no longer live back in 2015 when you stayed at that house and it's tied to that particular account, it could definitely hold you hostage to that account. So that's important that you want to clean up some of that old personal information off of your credit report. Some important areas to focus on within the credit. The first thing that I like to look at is credit usage. The credit usage. And what credit usage is, that is your credit that's been extended to you, your credit limit in comparison to the amount you have actually spent on those credit cards in that credit limit. So in this particular case, this client had a credit limit of $29,000, throughout all the cards that they have. And they used about 11,000 of their available limit. So that means they have a 38% credit usage. The higher this number is, the lower your credit score will go. Credit usage, well, I'll get into revolving debt in a minute, but credit usage is it consists of only the revolving credit, but it is one of the second biggest impactor of your credit score. We'll talk about the first one in just a second. But this credit usage is highly important. When your credit cards are maxed out at 100%, guess what? Your credit score is coming down because of that usage. But when you keep those credit cards under 10%, or the lower you get them, the more points you're going to gain back. And the only thing that's tied into your credit usage is revolving credit. So you may have a personal loan, an installment account, a car note. That's not tied into this $29,000. The only thing that's tied in here is revolving credit, and revolving credit is primarily credit card accounts because the balance revolves. Your payment isn't the same every month because it's really dependent on the type of balances that you have. So that's why it's considered revolving credit. But it has a major impact. Its impact is actually 30%. It affects 30% of your credit score just through that one category of credit usage. And then the other big one is credit history, which is 35% of your credit score. So credit history and credit usage meaning how much you've used your credit cards. Credit history is on-time payments, lengthy on-time payments, no late payments. Those two factors alone make up 65% of your credit score. 65% of the 100% is just those two. So if we maintain our credit limits and we keep our payments in good standing on time by whatever means necessary, that's more than half the battle with having a high credit score right there alone. So let's look at some of the other common credit scores, and we'll touch back in the credit usage in a minute. It all will come back together. So after I've looked at the credit usage, I usually scroll down and I look to see how many collections a client has. These are the collections, and collections are a continuation of debt owed and can stay on your credit report for up to 7 years from the date the debt first became delinquent and was not brought current. So if you had a collection and in 2021, you were late, in February 2021, 30 days, March, 60 days, then you caught back up. And then in 2022, October, you were late, November late, and December, they charged it off. Well, October of 2022 is when they would start counting as far as how long that account would need to stay on your credit, the 7 years from when it first became delinquent and was not brought current. Because you brought it back current in 2021, they're not going to consider that delinquency in the calculation for removal from, with the 7 years. So after collections, I check for charge-offs. A charge-off means a lender or creditor has written off the account as a loss and the account is closed to future charges. It may be sold to a debt buyer or transferred to a collection agent, but you're still legally obligated to pay that debt. But what I've learned in this credit thing is you can have a charge-off on your credit. And so when I know it's a client that's looking to purchase a home, I focus on the charge-offs that have a balance. If the charge-off doesn't have a balance, it was probably sold to a collection agency. And if I don't see it down there with the collections, it was probably removed. So I don't focus on those because the impact they're having on the score is very minimal. But when you have a charge-off that still has a balance, 9 times out of 10, it hasn't been sold to a collection agency, and that creditor may have written it off, but they still are liable for that account. Well, not liable, but they still hold the power of that account and the collection abilities for that account. So those are two of the major things that I look for, and those are two of the major problems that most clients have on their credit is collections, charge-off. Inquiries are one thing. You got soft inquiries, you got hard inquiries. A soft inquiry, people will ask me when I tell them I need to do a credit evaluation and to pull their credit from Experian.com. They'll be like, well, I just had my credit pulled and I don't want to lose any more points. When a lender, a car dealership pulls your credit, it's considered a hard inquiry. And that's where you can lose a point, 2 points to 3 points. But you can pull your credit 100 times by credit monitoring sites, and it will not affect your score at all because those are considered soft inquiries. These are monitoring sites. They're soft inquiries. Your score won't be impacted. And that's why you never see Experian or Credit Karma inside your inquiries because they only list hard inquiries. Okay, and then another scar is the late payment. So inquiries, having a lot of inquiries can be devastating to the score. I mean, I had a client that had 90 inquiries on one bureau before. 90 inquiries. And inquiries can be, they can have an impact on your credit because if I'm a lender and you're coming to me to borrow some money, for whatever reason, and I see that you got 30 inquiries from other lenders, that's going to make me seem like you're kind of risky. You're thirsty, I'll say. And it's going to make me kind of hesitant with lending to you, because, man, it kind of also says the potential for not being financially responsible. And that's how some lenders will look at it. So, yeah, it's good to control those inquiries and get those inquiries off. And for those of you that are familiar with the dispute process and are already disputing things on your credit, you never want to dispute an inquiry that you were approved for. If you applied for credit and you were approved, you don't want to dispute that inquiry because they'll also close the account because you're basically challenging this inquiry on the grounds that it's potentially not yours. So if that's the case, that means the account isn't either, and they'll close that account. So only dispute inquiries that you weren't approved for, because you know how the car dealership would do it. They'll run your credit 350,000 times, until they're doing it for you. We're trying to benefit you. Not trying to benefit themselves. But you didn't authorize all those inquiries. Sometimes you weren't even aware that they were going to do that, especially if you're a new car buyer. But let's move right along. Late payments, I already told you, that affects 35% of your credit score. By any means necessary, call those. If you're going to be late on the bill or something's coming up, call and work out something. Pay the minimum due if you have to, but just don't be late. You want to maintain a good, positive green payment history. And collection accounts are easiest to remove. Technically, you never had a contract with the collection agency, and many times they have no documentation to hold you legally accountable to the debt. All right, so let's talk briefly about some of the different scoring modules. There's the FICO scores, which is one of the most widely used scoring modules. There's FICO 2, 3, 4, and 5, FICO 8, FICO 10 is one of the newest, FICO 10 and FICO 10T. Most lenders today use a FICO system. And then there's Vantage Score. So Experian uses FICO, and then Vantage Scores, which is what you'll see on Credit Karma. For those of you that have Capital One accounts, you'll see Vantage Scores when you use CreditWise to check your credit. Those are Vantage 3.0 and Vantage 4.0, with 3.0 being the most accurate. So this is just a chart with a list of the different type of FICO scores. As you see, most mortgage applications use 2, 5, and 4. So I hope you all are getting it, but I'm moving right along here for the sake of time. All right, let's look at some score impactors. As I told you before, 30% of your score is based off the amount that you owe on those credit cards. 35% is your payment history. 15% is the length of credit, the amount of time a line of credit has been established. And then 10% is the type of credit. So having a healthy credit mix. And then new credit accumulations, which is those inquiries, affects 10%. And then the difference between FICO versus Vantage. As I was telling you, some people will look at their Credit Karma scores, and Credit Karma say, you got a 700 credit score. And then you go to the dealership and they say you had a 640, and you looking like, what in the world? Well, here's one of the reasons. I don't know if you can see my icon, my mouse cursor, but payment history only impacts your score by 35% on FICO, but it's 41% on Vantage. So a person whose Credit Karmas are higher than their FICOs, the payment history may be better on your credit report, and that's why Credit Karma is going to report you much higher. Let's move right along here. So some score classifications, just real quick. Credit rating based off score, 580 is considered poor, 580 to 669 is fair, 670 to 739 is good, and I don't think I got to explain the rest. So managing your scores, let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts. So doing some of these things are the simple fixes to credit. Like, I don't charge for advice, guidance, and direction. If a person calls me for a credit evaluation, if I see simple fixes that they can do, I offer that information and I'll guide them and direct them, and in doing so. But if they need me to address the issues, that's when there's a charge involved. So a lot of times there's simple fixes people can do on their credit that they just may not be aware of. Yeah, that's all me. I'm in the Amex club, but let's move on here. So first thing is never be late on a payment. Please never be late. Do whatever you can. But I know life happens sometimes and it's out of our control. But if it's within your control and it's something you can do, don't be late. No Burger King. This $35 is going towards this payment, this minimum due. All right. I mean, you got to make them sacrifices. No fast food this week because I got to make this payment. You're gonna appreciate it down the line when you need to use that credit, because a late payment can drop your score by, I've seen it by as much as 75 points. So pay the minimum if you have to. Keep those credit card balances down. I keep my credit card balances at 0%. I focus only on like 2 credit cards primarily, but if I have to use them, I try to make sure they're under 10% before the due date, and I don't use them again until after the statement date, but I can break that down at a later time. Credit card balances, as I said, affect 30% of your credit score. No collections, avoid collections. A new collection can drop your score by, I've seen as much as 100 points, and have a good mix of open credit. Once you've got the negative address, you want to get you one good retail card. You want to get you 1 or 2 major credit cards. If you have the car note, great. That's an installment. Then you get that house. You got a real estate line on your credit. So that's having a good mix of open credit, and then having perfect payment history on all of those. Yeah, that's considered established, a responsible buyer. So another thing, piggybacking off of family members and authorized user. That's something you can do to also boost your score. You can't impact the person that's adding you as an authorized user. You can't affect their credit in any way. 9 times out of 10, if you don't have any negative accounts and they add you to one of their cards and the balance is low and it has good payment history, you're going to see an increase in your score. But on the flip side, if they carry a balance, the higher that balance is, you'll see a drop in your score. So that's what you do need to be aware of if you're going to piggyback off a family member as an authorized user. And then self-lender accounts, some people use those. They can if you're just starting off and you're trying to build on your own, but I don't recommend them. Only if you're like starting off, because if you're established and you're doing self-lender accounts, it's really not necessary. For one, you're going to hurt your average credit age and decrease it by adding these new little accounts like Affirms and things like that. Adding those hurts your average credit age and it decreases it. And that's shortening your age on your oldest accounts. And that's going to cause your score to drop. And then keeping your inquiries low. And when you're going for a car, Don't let them run your credit 350,000 times. Try to get finance from a credit union if you can, or get your own financing and come in, because you got a little bit more power then, and you can kind of help dictate some of the terms in that situation. Okay. Let's move right along here. So I had a person tell me that our credit reports is our adult report card. And I like that because it really is. It's a true depiction of your ability to pay your bills on time. And my slogan is, you can't get somewhere by going nowhere. And the first step is to take a step. So don't be scared to look at your credit. Some people are scared to look at their credit. Like some men are scared to go to the doctor. You know, it's like, if I don't feel nothing, I'm fine. You know, scared they're going to be told something's wrong. Well, guess what? We can't fix a problem that we're not aware of. So the first step is to take a step. Take a step. These pictures are pictures of my wife's credit in April of 2022. She's carried a little bit of a balance right now. So she's 700s across the board now, like the mid sevens. But this is where she was in April and May of 2022. And yeah, she's doing really good maintaining her credit, paying her credit cards off. But yes. So now let's move right along here to the closing of this, which is helping you all get access to your credit reports. The free 3-bureau credit report. You don't want to just look at one. If you use Credit Karma, they're only going to give you Equifax and TransUnion. If you use Experian, they're only going to give you Experian, unless you do the free trial upgrade or upgrade and pay them a monthly subscription. But wouldn't it be better if you can just see all three in one place? So let's take a look here. So I use Experian.com to give all my free credit evaluations, as well as while I'm working on a client's credit. So you want to first go to Experian.com. You want to sign in. If you don't have an account, you want to create a free account. Make sure you choose the free account. Next is you want to go all the way to the, once you've signed in, you want to go to the right and click Review My 3 FICO Scores. Okay, then this page is going to show up. You put a card in. I usually put a Cash App card in and make sure it's locked, just in case you accidentally forget to cancel the subscription. But you put that card in. See, that was a free tip too, the Cash App card. Lock it. Anytime you signing up for something that you might forget to cancel, use the Cash App card. Lock it. But yeah, so you want to add a new card, add a card in there, and then pay. But you want to make sure that this number is 0 here, that it's not trying to charge you anything. Okay. Then you're going to come to this screen, confirm, pay. Click the blue pay button once again, but make sure the total is 0. Then it's going to bring you to this screen where you want to generate your report. I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but connect with me after this and I can send you these slides. Generate your report. Click on the generate report pink button. Now you can go back to your reports and view all 3 reports and score. Now to cancel the membership and switch the account back to free, this is the important part. You want to click at the top right. There's your profile icon. Or you can either click this or click your account. It's going to take you here, and you're going to click on membership details. Click the membership details tab. It's going to take you to this screen. You want to manage your membership plan. Right now, this is Experian Identity Works Premium for $19.99 a month. You want to manage that membership plan, and then click that pink Manage Membership button. Now it's going to bring you to this screen where this is what your current plan is. We want to go back to the free basic plan, downgrade membership. So click that button. Then this screen pops up, downgrade to free. Don't keep credit lock or any of that. Downgrade to free. Then this comes up. It's just going to ask you a reason. I usually put, I did not understand. I was an ongoing paid membership, or whatever reason fits. Then downgrade to the Credit Works Basic. Voila, downgrading to basic membership in 33 days. So in 33 days, you will be able to do this all over again and get all 3 reports. I do this once a month for myself and once a month for all my clients when I do their check-in on their disputes. So that is just some information to help you access your reports. There's no excuse to to not know what's on your credit. There's too much information out here, and there's too many ways to access your credit reports to see what's on there to start resolving that. So just like Tabby saying here, Cabby, whatever his name is, Jabby, Tabby, Cabby, I need help with my credit. I'm here to assist you. I offer free credit evaluations. Let's talk. Let's take a look, see what type of plan we can get you on, or let's create a plan that you can work on yourself to get you going. You can find us, work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We do free quotes and evaluations. We are a totally remote company. I'm available via phone calls, Zoom meetings, meetups also. Oh, Lord, what happened to my screen? Okay, there we go. All righty. 1 second here. Well, for some reason my thing went out of the large mode, but this is my information, phone numbers, website. You can go back and replay this video to access it. Email address. I'll leave this on for just a second so someone can get it. All right. Now I got to do it the old-fashioned way. And in closing, you. So I hope this information was very helpful to you all. Oh, yeah, I did good. 32 minutes. I tightened that up. So I hope this information was helpful to you all, because credit is truly important. Many don't believe that, but I assure you it is. You need credit. Everything is going digital nowadays. And yeah, credit truly is king. It's no better way to start a business than using someone else's money. You put your money in the bank, they're using your money to start other business or to invest, So it's no better way to do it than to have the credit to be able to get out loans to fund your dreams, to get your homes or whatever. And we're here to assist you. At this time, I know Lisa did want to take some time for questions. So I guess I'll leave some time for questions in the chat box. Yeah, I guess I can see the Facebook Live here. So if anyone had any questions at this time, you can type them in and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And if no questions come in within the next 5 minutes, I guess I'll wrap us up. But yeah, you can start typing those. I'll just blab for a little bit. But yeah, take care of your credit. My daughter, I added my daughter. Now this is important too. Type your questions if you got them. I'm just going to share something that you all should do. Is there a form to dispute inquiries? So let me give you a little sauce here. Give you a little sauce. Paul Harris, read us. I got you. So yeah, there are templates online you can use. We have special techniques, but I'm gonna tell you, there is a 48-hour method to 24 to 48-hour method that works. Sometimes you have to get the right rep. Some reps don't want to help you. They try to make you mail it in. But if you go to your credit reports, look at each one, Experian, write down Experian, and write a list of all the inquiries that you want to dispute that are not attached to an account. Do that for Equifax, do that for TransUnion. Then you want to call each of those bureaus individually and tell them there are unauthorized inquiries on your report that you need removed. You did not authorize these inquiries. A lot of times there's going to be a lot of auto inquiries on there, which technically you didn't authorize. And if you get the right rep, they'll remove them right away, and it'll show up sometimes instantly or within 24 to 48 hours. So that's a quick fix to get inquiries off your credit. It's worked for many people, but sometimes they don't want to work. So they'll say, oh, you got to write a letter and send it in. So I hope that answered your question, Mr. Harris Reedus. And yeah, any more questions, send them in. But I'm going to tell you all something. How much should I be paying for credit repair? So there's two different types. Okay, I got that one too. Oh, will that make this credit score go up? I'm going to come back to you, Amber Payne. Yes, the removal of inquiries will make your score go up. Not typically by much, because as we saw, credit inquiries really only affect 10% of your credit score. But if you have a lot of inquiries on there, you could see a significant increase in your score. Okay, so hopefully that answers your questions. If you got any more, just write them. So how much should I be paying for credit repair? So I love when a person wants to first try to do things themselves, because you learn about it and then you learn how to maintain it. And anything you work for or work towards, you appreciate more. It's when, a lot of times when stuff is given, yeah, it don't last as long because it's not taken care of the same. Like when we give our kids something versus when they work for it. So there's different types of programs. Some people do a month-to-month program where they charge you 100, 125, 150 a month, and they dispute so many accounts per month. And then there's a flat rate. There are a lot that will do a flat rate program. People have different prices. You have to be careful though, because there are a lot of people out here professing to be credit repair specialists, and they don't have a clue about credit repair. Their credit ain't good, and they're probably connected to some multi-level marketing thing where they're not actually working on your credit. They're just getting people to sign up, and this company is doing the work. So you have to be careful for stuff like that. But if you're paying this monthly fee, they typically will charge you a set monthly fee, something to start, the monthly fee, and dispute a couple items a month, maybe 1 to 3 items per month. But I'm gonna just be transparent and honest. I don't use that technique because in doing that, what a lot of people will do. Let's say, for example, Amber, let's say I did use that technique, and you paid me $100 to start, then $150 a month. Let's say you did the $100 to start, and I got everything off your credit in 30 days. $15,000 worth of debt off your credit in 30 days, and I only made $100. And this is my livelihood. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of taught to, with that method, you want to kind of hold on to a client and do so many accounts per month so you can actually make some money off the client. So I don't use that technique. I use a flat rate. I charge a flat rate, and my prices range anywhere between $350 to $650, really depending on the client situation. If a person needs a la carte service, I'll charge per account, and that has different fees as well. And the package that they're getting it consists of 4 rounds of disputes. And within 4 rounds, most clients are resolved. If there's anything left, it's probably 1 or 2 accounts, which at that point we negotiate a settlement. But you typically start seeing your score go up within the first 30 days. Collections are the easiest removals, but yeah, you got to be careful. I knew of a client that paid $4,500 for credit repair and only got 1 account removed. But luckily for her, she was with a credible company that refunded her money. But it's a lot of people out here that'll ghost you, so you got to be careful with who you're dealing with when it comes to this credit repair, because you pay your money, and eventually you might get tired of trying to reach out, and that's that. Okay. What will make credit score go up? First, no negative accounts. No negative accounts is the first thing. So I still want to share this sauce with you all. What red flag should we look for in credit repair companies? I'm going to get to that one next, Amber. But no negative accounts. And then you need revolving credit. You need a credit card. And that's why, for my daughter, I gave my daughter the start that I didn't have. And I encourage you all to do the same. Give your children the start with credit that a lot of us didn't have. I didn't have good credit. My mom probably did, and her mom probably didn't. So when my daughter was 17, I added her to one of my credit cards, one that I rarely use. They report every month still as if I'm using it. When she turned 18, we pulled her credit. Nothing was on there. And then when she turned 18, nothing was on there originally. So when she turned 18, we pulled her credit, and all her scores were a 720. In between that 720, 730 range, from one authorized user account put on her credit, nothing else. So then we applied for her own credit card. We got her a Capital One student card. They gave her $3,000. Then we got her a Discover card. They gave her $3,000. Then Capital One gave her another $3,000. So now she has her own 3 large trade lines on her credit. And I took myself off, and my daughter is focused on her credit. She gets nervous if it drops a little bit. But all of her scores now range between the 770 and 7090 range. And my daughter's 19. She will have 800s across the board before she's 20. And that's because I was able to give her something that I didn't have. So do that for your children. Get a card. Once you've established your credit, get a credit card that you can use just to add them, and rarely use it, because even though you don't use it, even if you keep it at zero, they're going to report every month as if you are. So yeah, that's just a little sauce to look out for your kids. I'm doing that with my other two kids too when they turn 17. And yeah, give them the start that we didn't have. Um, what red flag should we look for in credit repair companies? Um, what red flags? I mean, first thing, you got to check what your spirit is saying. you know, as far as my company, I don't do, if you go on the creditrestorestation.com or my Facebook page, I don't do a lot of promoting. I've been doing this since 2007, working on credit and learning credit and dealing with people in credit. And I've gained a lot of credibility with a lot of people. I deal with multiple lenders, multiple realtors, and I'm about 90% referral based. And people aren't going to refer you if you aren't able to produce, if you ghosting, if you're not integral. But it's kind of hard to say flags. I mean, because sometimes it takes actually getting into the situation to realize it, But sometimes there are flags there, but sometimes they're not. But the communication sometimes can be a thing. That their process of sign up can be a thing. Research them, maybe check their social media pages and ask somebody about them, maybe from the friends list or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of a tough one to say, but yeah, if your spirit is saying no, you might want to shy away. But a lot of times, if someone refers someone to you, you still want to do a little vetting, and maybe have a conversation with them. That'll pretty much tell you what you need to know. But some people got the gift of gab, and yeah, they could sell fur to a cat, whatever the saying is. I know what I'm saying. Okay, so hopefully that helps. But that sauce I gave you about, it's not really sauce, but it's just something many people don't know about. Adding your children as authorized users. Do that. Give them the start that we didn't have. Do I got any more questions? Any more questions? Make sure I didn't miss any. What's the best way to get down payment assistance on top of your? So that is a question for Lisa. So you can, I'm sure she'll respond to that message in the feed once she gets back on here. But yeah, that's a question for Lisa. But definitely having the good credit scores is important, because it's definitely going to help with the interest rates and everything else. Is it more important to focus on saving or paying off debts, or is there a ratio? So I would never encourage a person just to flat out pay debts unless they have to, especially collections. But yeah, if you have to pay the actual debt, first you want to challenge that debt to make sure that the collection agency has documentation holding you accountable to that account. That's why I say don't just pay debts, dispute that debt. Make sure they can legally collect that debt, because they sell accounts to one another, and sometimes it'll be two accounts on your credit. So challenge that thing before you pay it. But I would say settle. If they're not going to delete it and you're going to pay a debt, settle that debt instead. Because if you pay it and they don't delete it, or if you settle it and they don't delete it, that balance going to zero is going to render you about the same amount of points. So keep a little bit of money in your pocket, but sometimes you got to make that sacrifice. I'll give you this story here. When I lived in that apartment, my gas or my light bill, one of those, they went sky high. I was in a small 2-bedroom apartment with my 3 kids driving us crazy. And my bill, I can't remember if it was my light or my gas, but the bill went from like $100 a month to $300, $350 a month. And I didn't know what to do. So I just was ignoring it. That's why I had 27 collections. I was ignoring stuff. But anyway, I didn't know what to do. So I was kind of ignoring it. And then when I'm trying to get this house, this thing is on there and I'm wrestling with it. So I go down and I talk to the property manager, and I'm like, what's going on? So they go into the utility room, and the maintenance man said, oh, this thing broke. He slammed something in and said, it's fixed now. That thing been broke for months, and I've been getting overcharged. So it's like, who's liable? Because I have no access to that room. But because I wanted better for my kids, I just bit the bullet and paid that debt, because I wasn't going to allow this one debt to hold me back from reaching my goal. So sometimes you have to just bite the bullet, make that sacrifice, and do it. So it's kind of like both. Sometimes you got to pay off some debts in order to get to your goal, and work on saving after the fact, But if you're able to put something away, then 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. You're still working towards getting to your goal. So I hope that answered your question. Any more questions? What my time looking like? I'm at 45 minutes. I think I'm doing good. Any more questions? Well, I think we are good for the night. It truly was a joy to share this information with you all. As I said, you can go back and play this video to get access to my information. Maurice Holmes, the Credit Restore Session. Get your credit reports. Make sure you get your 3-borough free credit reports. Look at your situations and do something about it. Go get your goal. You got to do something. And here's a little biblical for you. God said he'll bless what you put your hands to do. You got to give God something to bless. If you're sitting back waiting for manna to fall from the sky, no, you got to give God something to bless. Do something and watch him bless that thing and cause it to flourish. Start working on your credit. Watch things start working out for you. You're going to face some roadblocks, but God going to fight that battle and open the door and make sure you can walk right through it, right into the door of your home. Your home. I'm on my second home, y'all. I upgraded and bought another house. Went from 1,400 to 3,400 square feet. Nobody but God. It's a blessing. So, yep, I am done for the night. It would have been funner with Lisa here, but she's not here. She's here. She's somewhere in the audience, but she couldn't be on because of technical difficulties. But thank you, Lisa, for having me on. Thank you all for tuning in. thecreditrestorestation.com. And I am signing off. God bless you all.